Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the continuation of our Android tip calculator tutorial. I know that it's been a really long time since I've made one of these videos, but I've been caught up with other stuff. But now we can finally continue a little bit this weekend. So before, we just added functionality to these buttons here. And at this point, I'd like to actually start working on the math. So you'll notice that if you change these numbers here to other numbers, the numbers down at the bottom here do not change. Let's update that. Let's update it so that every time you move out of one of these ordered edit texts, the computer will add up all the orders for one customer and update it down here. So let's go into Eclipse, and you'll notice that the font is a lot bigger. I changed it from 12 to 16 to make it easier to see. For people who don't have large monitors or can't run the YouTube video at 1080p, it's kind of hard to see before, but it should be easier now. Okay, so we want to make all the edit texts update the numbers down here whenever they lose focus. So that means we want to use the onFocus change listener again. So let's add them to all the order edit texts. The first one we have is the customer one's amount 1 of 1 edit text. So let's add a onFocus change listener for that. Also, I'm a bit sick today, so I'm not really thinking very clearly. Next, whenever you create a new customer, we create an ET2, which is the edit text for the first order of that new customer. So we want to make sure that every time we make a new customer, the order of the first order gets an onFocus change listener as well. And finally, every time we click this button, we also create a new order. So we want to make sure every new one gets an onFocus change listener. So let's add that. Okay, great. Now every single order edit text that we'll ever make and that we ever start with will have an onFocus change listener that MainActivity will be listening to. Now let's write the code for what happens when MainActivity listens to it. So right now we already have a for loop that runs through all the diners in diner list, and if it was a name edit text that lost focus, we do this thing that we wrote earlier. Now let's do this. I'm going to make another for loop using J instead of I. Bear with me for a sec while I write out the code. Okay, so if it was not an ET name that I clicked, let's go to the else block. And again, this is still within this for block that runs through all the diners. So within this for block, we have another for block, and this for block runs through every single order inside a particular diner's order list. So we'll stop at every diner, and we'll check if their ET name got changed. If it didn't, we'll go down here, and we'll see we'll run until J is no longer less than the order list size of that diner, and for each order in that order list, we'll check if the thing that lost or gained focus is equal to that particular order, and we also check that to make sure that has focus is false. In other words, it lost focus rather than gained focus. So what happens when we notice that one of the orders lost focus? We can do this. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop the video here, but let's look at what we did. So for loop within a for loop, every time something main activity notices that something lost focus, it'll check through every single diner, and within that for loop we have another for loop here that runs whenever a diner does not have their name changed, or their ET name changed. Instead, it's something else. So we check every order within that diner, which is here, diner list.getI, which is this particular diner on this iteration of the for loop, .orderList.size, which means we run once for every single order within that diner, and we check for each order if v, the thing that gained or lost focus, is equal to that diner's order list at that particular j value, which means whatever iteration we're on, whatever order we're on. So this loop right here runs through every order of every diner, and this loop right here runs through every diner. So therefore, by this point right here, with this for loop, we guarantee that we run through every single order in our app. And for every single order, here again, we check if it's equal to the order that we're on the iteration for, and if focus was lost. And then we run the dinerList.getI.updateTotal. DinerList.getI is just the diner for whatever order just lost focus. And updateTotal. UpdateTotal is a function that we have not written yet. So if we go back here, we can go public void update total. So now it will not be underlined. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and write the code for the update total for the diner class, and that will actually do the math for us that we need to do. So until then, I'll see you guys next time.